Have you ever looked at a top-tier MotoGP race bike and then at a superbike on the street and thought, what's really the difference? I mean, they look kind of similar, right? Well, let me tell you, underneath that flashy paint, they are completely different animals. So today, we're going to pop the fairings and dive right into the anatomy of these two-wheeled rockets.
And wow, the differences are staggering right from the get-go. Just look at this. We're talking over $3 million for the race bike versus maybe 25 grand for a really nice street bike. One is a pure, one-of-a-kind racing machine that you literally cannot buy, and the other is something you can, ride right off the showroom floor. But pay attention to that weight difference. That's a huge clue as to where all that money really goes.
And that's the whole point. These aren't just tuned-up street bikes. No way. They are pure prototypes. The best way to think about them is like Formula One cars, but with two wheels. Every single nut, bolt, and panel is engineered for one single purpose, to be the fastest thing on a racetrack with absolutely zero compromises for public roads.
So what does that no compromises philosophy actually look like in practice? Well, let's peel back the layers and get into the real anatomy of speed. This, my friends, is where the magic happens. Okay, first let's just talk about raw, mind-bending speed. The current MotoGP top speed record is an insane 366.1 kilometers per hour. That was set by Brad Binder. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that is faster than the takeoff speed of a Boeing 747. It's just an incredible number. And it all starts with the heart of the beast, the engine. And that insane speed comes from this: over 280 horsepower squeezed out of a 1,000cc engine. But you know what's really interesting? The true number is a closely guarded secret. These teams spent millions and millions on research and development, and they are not about to just give away their exact power figures to the competition.
Now, to stop a machine from that kind of speed, you need brakes that operate at temperatures that are literally hot enough to melt aluminum. The carbon fiber brakes on a MotoGP bike can hit 800 degrees Celsius. They actually glow red hot as they turn all that forward motion into pure heat.
So how in the world do they handle these extremes of speed and heat? Well, the answer is all in the materials. These bikes are built from stuff that sounds like it belongs on a spaceship. And as this quote explains, these exotic materials are exactly what puts this kind of performance financially out of reach for you and me.
So let's get specific. Instead of the normal steel and aluminum you'd find on a street bike, these machines are dripping with titanium, magnesium, and carbon fiber. A titanium bolt, for example, gives you all the strength of steel at nearly half the weight. And a magnesium wheel, get this, it's an astonishing 75% lighter. This relentless hunt for lightness is how they get down to that minimum weight of just 157 kilograms.
Magnesium isn't just used because it's light. It has this other superpower, something called damping capacity. Basically, it's incredibly good at soaking up vibrations. And when you're hurtling down a track at over 200 miles an hour, keeping the bike stable and the tires glued to the asphalt is, well, it's absolutely critical.
And this right here perfectly shows the difference in their jobs. You see those amazing carbon brakes? They're basically useless until they get incredibly hot. So if you were to pull up to a stoplight on a cold morning, they would actually be dangerously ineffective. Street bikes need steel brakes, which are designed to work reliably right away, even when cold. It's a totally different engineering problem.
And it's the exact same story with the tires. MotoGP slicks are basically just pure rubber, designed for maximum contact with a perfectly clean, hot racetrack. They have absolutely no treads, so even a little bit of water or dirt on a public road would be a total disaster. Plus, they don't even start to grip properly until they're hotter than boiling water. Not exactly practical for a trip to the store, right?
Okay, so we have this incredible purpose-built machine. Now let's talk about the arena where it actually competes, the world of Grand Prix racing.
And this sport has such a rich history. We're not talking about some new, flashy series that just popped up. Nope. This is the oldest motorsport world championship on the entire planet. Its first season was held way, way back in 1949.
And the premier class, the top tier, has evolved so dramatically over the decades. It started with 500cc four-strokes, but then in the 70s, it was completely taken over by these wild, screaming two-stroke engines. The modern MotoGP era, as we know it, really began in 2002, bringing back heavier but more powerful four-strokes, which eventually grew into the 1,000cc monsters they race today.
To even get to the top, riders have to climb a very specific ladder. They start out in Moto3, on these smaller 250cc prototypes. Then they move up to Moto2. And this class is really interesting because every team uses the exact same engine. This puts the focus squarely on rider skill and chassis setup, and only after proving themselves there do they reach the absolute pinnacle, MotoGP.
And of course, these incredible machines have been piloted by some of the greatest athletes, just true legends in sporting history. In that premier class, a few names really do stand above everyone else. The legend himself, Giacomo Agostini, holds the all-time record with an incredible 8 titles. And right behind him are 2 modern titans of the sport, Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez, who've both battled their way to 7 championships apiece.
Now, Valentino Rossi, he holds a really unique place in history that perfectly captures this evolution we've been talking about. He won the final championship of the 500cc two-stroke era back in 2001, and then, the very next year, he immediately won the very first championship of the new 990cc four-stroke MotoGP era. That was just an incredible feat, proving his mastery across 2 completely different kinds of machine.
So why does all this multi-million-dollar research and development even matter to the average rider on the street? Well, there's actually a very direct and very cool connection.
It's really simple, actually. MotoGP is basically a rolling laboratory. The technology that gets pushed to its absolute limit under the most extreme conditions on the racetrack, well, it eventually finds its way into the bikes that we can all ride every day. Seriously, think about the tech on modern superbikes. That sophisticated traction control that keeps you safe, the lightweight frames, even those crazy aerodynamic winglets you're starting to see now. All of those ideas were born and perfected in the fire of MotoGP competition before being adapted for us. Your bike is safer, faster, and more efficient, all because of what happens on the track. And all of this leads to one final, really fascinating question. As these machines get more and more powerful, more sophisticated, are we really watching a battle between the world's best riders anymore? Or is it becoming a battle between the world's brightest engineers? It's something to think about the next time you see them fly by.